Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, April 18th, 2022, and we are all here in the garage gathered together. Yay! If you're new to this chat, and I'm hoping there are new people that show up or get involved, but if you're new to this chat, we try to focus on classic cars. Mustangs, Camaros, Corvairs, Volkswagens, Studebakers, anything really. We tend to focus on cars, let's say 50s up into the mid 70s. I think that's a pretty good bracket to cover. I ask people to pose questions. If you have something you want to know about a particular thing on a car in that era, I could probably come up with a good answer. Or if I can't, there's people over here in this chat box that can come up with a good answer. We have a great group that shows up here on Mondays, and it's always interesting to see what we talk about. Sometimes we even talk about food. Sometimes. Maybe movies. It could be just a variety of anything, really. But it's great to be here and great to have people involved. If you pose a good question, I'll give you a bell. If I give a good answer, or somebody else gives a good answer, they get a bell. Pretty exciting. Little reward system I have. Also, I give bells for just random things. Just random. Could be anything. Could be the first person here. We'll see. So, anyway, I'm glad you're here. Do you hear that? I heard the air counting down. That was my belt sander. The compressor. I had shut off the compressor and it was bleeding air down, and apparently it got low enough that it allowed it to trigger. So a little bonus there. You got to hear the belt sander running by itself. So anyway, let's see who's here tonight. First up is Steve's Money Pit. And he looks like he has I'm guessing a sad face. He was here pretty early. He was here at 5:39. So Steve, I hope you're here or you've come back, but I'm glad that you checked in anyway. Terry Keithley, evening everyone from cold West Central Illinois. Please hit the thumbs up for Barry. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Terry. By all means. Rick, I guess adult? Maybe another? Maybe we'll go with another. How about that? Eerie, rainy night in New Jersey. Looking forward to a couple of hours of relaxation. Hope everyone's okay. Happy belated Easter. Happy Easter to you, Rick. Belated as well. So, let's see who else is here. Steve Grimes. Hello all from snowy South Central Pennsylvania. Yeah, I have some pictures that showed up on my phone from there. Like 3 inches of snow. That's really out of the ordinary, especially for that part of Pennsylvania, let's say. You know, usually there's not a lot of, I would say not normally, there's normally not a lot of snow in that area, but to have snow that late in the year, technically early in the year, right? We think late in the year, you know, winter season, spring, whatever, but actually it's early in the year when you really think about it. Hope you're staying warm. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Glad you're here. And Troy, hey Barry and gang, from a partly cloudy and warm coastal Georgia. While you finish the Camaro fast, it's together and all shiny green. Yep, it's completely done. Just like on TV. That's how it works, right? They show you the car coming in. They show you a bunch of people kind of working on little bits and pieces of it. And then poof, it's done. That's the magic. I don't really have that kind of magic, but you get the idea. Let's see. Robert, evening all. Beautiful 73 here. Well, until 90s return in a few days. You know, I was just looking at my weather app as well. Tonight, well, it's 61 currently here in Georgia. But it is going to get down to 42 overnight. And 42 on Wednesday as well for lows. So really good moderate temperatures. Low 70s, mid 70s, low 80s. So fantastic weather right now. Just fantastic. Can't complain. Brian B, just listening today. Folks, hope Barry and all are doing good. Glad you're here, Brian. Ed Cucciarella, hello from Southern California. Glad you're here, Ed. Crash Rider, greetings from Southern Indiana with some so-so weather right now. Troy, that Camaro isn't green. It's aqua blue. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Yeah, aqua blue. Gulfstream, aqua blue, yeah. Aaron, evening. We had snow here today in Indiana. Have to wait for the tail end of the week for 70s, unlike Robert, the Infernal Grassman. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be getting, obviously summer is coming. Stab the Dab Productions. What happened to the Brooklyn Pony? I'll just say the owner dropped the ball. Yep. I kept asking for parts. I kept waiting on parts, and nothing was coming. And so I just finally decided I'm done with it. And so I put it aside, and that's when I started working on Jade again. Got it finished up, but I'm not working on the Brooklyn Pony anymore. Nope. That bridge has been blown up. No good. No good. But thanks for asking. That's why I'm working on a Camaro right now. Happy with that. Happy with that. Rick Stevenson, hello everyone. Glad you're here, Rick. Richard, been watching the Camaro build. Interesting difference between the Mustang and the GM product. Yes, I can't stress that enough. There is a ton of difference between the two vehicles. Now, obviously from the firewall back, we know it's all spot welds and sheet metal. But GM took a different approach with the subframe, and even how they compounded the layers of metal, in the back of the car. Yeah. Now, I'm assuming everything that GM put together would have been similar to that. You have full frame cars like Impalas and, Buicks and whatever from that era. And I think we had the Chevy 2, the Nova. I'm pretty confident it was a unibody car as well. I don't know what else they had in that bracket. Of course, the Nova that followed with this car was different from the Chevy 2. I know a lot of people took the Chevy 2, the early version. They would cut off the snout and put in a whole new front suspension under it. But I've never really worked on one of those much, and at least not to the extent that I'm doing the Camaro. So I don't know exactly how those are put together as well. But I really can't think of any other mid-size. I mean, you had the Corvair, and I'm sure that was probably built very similar to the Camaro as far as the stacking of the metal and stuff like that. So, yeah, really different, really different. Simone is checking in. Hi, Barry. Hello, chat. Glad you're here. We're not sure yet. Maybe Simone will make an appearance on tonight's live stream. Maybe. It's up to her. Rick, does it make sense to keep my original 289? It's been on the bench for 15 years. Well, that's debatable. If it's just a plain... Well, let me ask you this. First, is it a 2-barrel or a 4-barrel 289? One becomes more valuable over the other. Is it worth it to keep it? Really, it's up to you. You probably got, I'm sure you got a good engine in your car now. If you were planning on selling the car, I would keep it and offer that with the car and say, here's the original engine, goes with it for this price or whatever. I don't know what they're bringing these days. I have no idea what one of those is worth. I'd probably take it off your hands if you were closer, but I can't say. It's up to you on that side of things, whether you want to keep it or not. Bob Shoemaker, evening all from Oklahoma, where everything is okay, right? Leonard, evening all from the high desert. Glad you're here. Dawn's Manufactory, hello everyone from Soggy, Portland. Hope y'all are doing good. Yeah, Soggy, Portland. That's pretty much the norm, isn't it? I don't know if you've all been following Don or not on his journey with Betsy. He's putting out some good stuff. Good stuff on his YouTube channel. You need to check him out if you haven't. Ron Bell, greetings from Tri-Cities in Northeast Tennessee. Glad you're here, Ron. Douglas, hey Barry, Long Island, New York here. Douglas Weingarten, I should say. Glad you're here, Douglas. Christopher, hey, maybe I missed it. What's the status on the jig? Status, there's no status right now on the jig. And you're talking about the Mustang jig, right? There's several things that I wanted to take care of. Getting that trailer was kind of an opportunity, that boat trailer. The opportunity presented itself, the price was right, and I said, I need to get it. And I went ahead and made my little video for that, implying that there will be more, but I have not gotten that to that point. My goal is to get this taken care of first. Get that done. Get it out of the way. And then either work on the jig or another Mustang. I've talked about it before. I want to do the fastback conversion, and I'm not going to be able to do that until I get all the parts. So there's other things in the system right now, or in my queue, let's say, that are coming. So the jig right now is just on hold. It's just on hold. I think if you go to Rusty's Mustang Garage, he has some videos on making a jig. So check that out if you want some more insight into that. Rusty's Mustang Garage. So give him a look. Charlie, greetings to all. Great progress on the Camaro Berry, following closely. Yes, thank you, Charlie. Give you a bell for that. Let's see. Crasher, I like the way questions are appearing on the bottom of the screen now. Did you change the format, or was it YouTube? Much easier to read now. I've always done that. Are they not? Have you normally not seen that? You're talking about it right now, the questions, because I've always done that. I've always clicked on it and read the question and posted it in the video. So I don't know if there's something was affecting that on your end. I think everybody else is seeing that. I assume. I don't know. But yeah, I try to post that up there every time. Stab the Dab. Is the Camaro going to be repainted the original Rally Green when you're finished with the bodywork? That's a good question. At this point, I just want to get the sheet metal work done and have it in primer. That's my goal. I don't even know if I'm going to do body filler or not. I may do the filler up here at the top where the roof meets the quarter. But at this point, I just plan to have it in primer. I would love to see it in green because that's the original color, Rally Green. And that's why I've been posting those pictures, because I think it just looks cool. But at this point, I'm not planning on painting it. Shane, great videos and info on the Camaro. A lot more detail to the body welds compared to Mustangs. Yes. Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I don't know if you got my email or not, Shane. I have to get some more envelopes. Let's see. Wally, 68 Mustang. Good evening, everyone. Hope all's well. Great progress on the car, Barry. Thank you, Wally. Simone, I watched your recent video, Barry. I've had similar experience with aftermarket panels. Sure, I don't mind joining in for a while. Okay. Well, let's do this. I'm going to copy that. I will send an invite. And then, Simone, you just need to click on that link, and hopefully you have a phone or something set up that you can participate. So we'll get Simone on here in a little bit. Ed, the font is different and larger. Okay, that must be something totally different, because I have not changed anything on I haven't changed anything. I honestly have not changed a thing on any of that. So I don't know. I guess maybe. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see here. Wally, visually they are larger than they used to be. They are larger up here as well. Okay. Well, they must have done something that I didn't know about. And Troy says the banner with the questions have changed. It makes it easier to read. Okay. And Charlie says, Barry, the font is larger black letters with a white background this week. Okay. I don't know what's going on then, because what I see right here is a black banner, runs from about right there all the way across, black banner, and then I see you, Simone, and then my letters are white. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But if it makes it easier on everybody, great. And Chrysler, yes, they've always been there, but it is larger. Does anyone else notice a change? Strange. Okay. All right. One more. Robert says StreamYard made the message much easier to read than it used to be. Okay. Well, that's a good thing, I guess. We'll give StreamYard a bell. How about that? Okay. Well, we have Simone ready to join us. And let me see here. Okay. Here we go.
Hello,
There we have
everyone.
Simone.
Good evening from England.
Hello. Let me turn up my volume a little bit. How are you?
Not too bad. It's quite late tonight. It's gone midnight, but it's not a problem.
Okay. And I know I was looking at some of your videos earlier. So you do you can explain tell people what all you're doing over there.
Well, the main focus of the channel at the moment is my classic 72 Cortina. If you haven't seen one before, that's a Cortina.
Right.
At the moment, oddly enough, I'm a mechanic, kind of. I have a stub axle.
In your living room.
Yeah, just trying. I go and buy parts. They sit in the passenger seat, you know.
Okay.
But that was covered in rust and dust and probably what was they used to put in brake calipers years ago? Pads, sorry. Asbestos, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
These were probably coated with a bit of that.
Yeah.
So getting everything off, cleaning it all down, painting it with zinc primer, and then using a stone guard spray paint.
Okay.
So both of those are done. I've got steering components that have been cleaned up, ready to be painted. Small components, part of the steering, all sorts of things really. And I've got a friend coming around this week to help me dismantle the suspension.
Okay.
And I have a spring compressor. And
Great.
the springs are lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the end goal? I see you have a red one on your shirt. Is that a two door?
That is, yeah, that's 2-door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the other car you showed, the blue one, the wagon.
Yeah. Yeah. We call those estates over here.
Estates. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an estate in a state.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
is that one is just used for like picking up parts and stuff, or you plan
No,
on?
no. I still have more welding to do. The panels at the rear end of the car, they need to be replaced. I've got 3 of them so far. I need another 3, and then I've got the complete set, and then I can start work. There's no point starting until I've got everything.
Right.
I need to replace the rear axle. It's the wrong ratio. The car basically came with a 1.3 litre engine with a very, very pitiful amount of power. So the plan was to put in a 2 litre because that's the biggest that we usually do in the UK. Unfortunately, that engine ended up going to another project. So I ended up with a 1.6, which is more peppy, but bolted to a 2 litre axle. Bolted to a 2 litre prop shaft and a 1300 rear axle. It's not a good mixture.
Okay.
And the gearbox itself is a Type 9 5-speed Quaife, which is, you'd find that in more of a rally car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a friend of mine, she's got a rally converted Cortina. And I think this gearbox was in a Ford Sierra at one point. Which
Ford
for you,
Sierra. So
to
what
you
would that
guys,
be?
that would be a Merca.
Okay.
XR4 Ti.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know that term. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Leonard. Yeah, not too bad. Weather's starting to warm up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got quite a lot more work to do. but it's going to be a daily driver, and I'm keeping the outside the way it looks.
Okay.
In the 70s, it was used as a television repair vehicle.
Okay.
And we found all sorts of things inside the car. If anybody wants to check out the channel and watch some of it, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
And
It's hooked on classics.
yes, it
Yeah.
is. The car originally came from another channel called Cortina City. And the chap there called Pete, he restores these cars. He's on his fifth now. And he did a cleanup of this car when he found it in a breaker's yard. And it was going to end up either crushed or put on the banger track, as in a derby to you
Yes.
guys.
Yeah.
So it's a rare car. Very, very basic. Came out of the factory with no radio, no cigarette lighter, even though it came with an ashtray, no clock, no rev counter. Yeah, very, very basic.
Now, I like some of these terms. You said, what did you say it was at?
Breaker's yard,
Breaker's
like a
yard. So it's
junkyard.
a junkyard. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you said a rev counter, which is a tack.
Yes, didn't come with a
Okay.
tacho.
Okay.
So
It's
I've been given a tacho, but it's where to put it. That's the problem.
okay.
I don't want to start screwing into things or drilling into anything and damaging what's original.
Okay.
So it could be a zip tie operation.
It could be
Yeah.
off the steering column, right?
That was the plan.
Yeah. That was a common feature. A lot of cars like this Camaro behind me, or a variety of any American car in the 70s, whenever people would, well, say 60s into the 70s, the quick fix was to attach the tachometer just to the steering column. And they actually made a bracket for that with a curve, so you could clamp it on. So that was a pretty common accessory add-on for those cars.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what has got you involved with these cars?
Well, I'm in my mid-40s. I've wanted one of these cars since I was in my mid-teens.
Okay.
And back
But I
then,
mean, but you're a mechanic, right?
kind of.
Okay.
I've
Self-taught?
got motorcycles as well.
Oh, okay.
I taught myself how to work on bikes. And wanting one of these cars, I've dabbled with my own road cars. But most modern cars I don't want to do it on modern cars. It's just too complicated.
Yeah.
You open the bonnet sorry guys, bonnet, hood.
Bonnet. That works.
You open it up and it's just an engine. It's just there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nowadays, it's all covered in plastic, and I hate it.
I agree. There's all types of stuff that they've added to these cars, and the simplicity of I have the 1931 Model A.
Ooh,
Okay, I don't know if you've seen that or not. I have two videos or several videos on my channel for that car.
I haven't yet.
It was my grandfather's car, and I restored it back in 2007. So anyway, you can't get more basic or simple than that. It's a flathead 4-cylinder engine, distributor, spark plugs, water jacket. That's it. That's all there is.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the Model A, I say the beauty of it, is because it's so simple, you can adjust the timing with a lever on the column, and you can
I've seen that.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, you can do it, and both the throttle and the timing, from inside the vehicle.
Yeah.
And even the carburetor, there's a rod that comes through the dash that you can pull it, that it pulls the choke on. You push it in, and then you can turn it left and right, make it lean or rich.
Oh wow.
So it's everything can be operated from the driver's seat, basically. And there's no cables. The only wiring is for the distributor, the alternator, which I put on an alternator instead of a generator,
Yes.
and then I converted it to 12 volts. So I added some lights to it, but it is so simple.
Mm.
But yet there are complex things to that car as well that you can't. A lot of people just can't fathom. But the drive shaft is in an internal tube. So like your car would have an exposed drive shaft.
Yes.
This car has a tube that connects from the transmission to the rear differential,
Ah,
and inside of the tube is a drive shaft you can't touch.
I see.
So when you want to take that apart, it's a lot more complicated.
Oh,
It's a lot more complicated.
yeah.
So anyway, just some observations.
It kind of makes me think of back in the day when this car came out. You'd get a manual that would tell you how to adjust tappets and timing.
Right?
Nowadays, you get a car that tells you don't drink the contents of the battery.
Exactly right.
It's like they're
Exactly right.
trying to make us stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and a lot of the cars now, they don't want you to service them.
They don't.
No, they don't
Yeah.
want you to go near it. We talked about this previously, where they don't even have oil, like a dipstick,
Mm,
so you can't check the oil. You have to take it back to the dealer to get them to
yeah.
change it.
It's a
Um,
way of basically get the dealer making money out of the customer.
oh, sure, sure,
Yeah. And taking risk away from us, I suppose, to stop us from just playing with it, really.
right.
So,
Now you said, so you started off with motorcycles and you moved
yeah.
on to cars.
Yes.
Now, were you just motorcycles to ride, or were you doing any racing or anything like that?
No, I've never raced anything, but
Okay,
I really would like to. There are a couple of places here that do karting, which I've never done in my life. There's a speedway for motorcycles, like a dirt oval. I've never done that. That's the bikes go around like sideways,
yep,
consistently sideways.
yeah, we have that
Uh,
here.
yeah, I've never even been to one of those, but I went to a British Superbikes weekend, but I didn't see the race, sadly. It was just, I think it was free practice, they call it.
Okay,
So that's actually on my channel. I recorded it. So I need to get a bit more bike content, but I have a Kawasaki ZZR or ZZR to us, and I have a Yamaha RS125DX from 1983, I think it is, but it's a 70s design. But the Kawasaki, it's my second Kawasaki. The first one I crashed in 2009. I totally destroyed the front end of it. Great bike though. So I bought another one that didn't work. And I stripped it down, had the frame powder coated, had to replace panels, had the wheels, tires done. The engine is out at the moment, but that needs to go back in at some point.
now what
But
size
it's
was that one?
600cc.
Oh, okay, that's a good size.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a decent bike. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds.
that's
So
fast enough.
yeah, it's potent.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I've
yeah,
most of the bikes I've had have been just um, like 750. I've had 1100. Some pretty big, but they're also big and
mm,
bulky. Which takes away from the ride sometimes. But yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
have some bikes, and then you've been working on the Cortina. You have the
yeah.
station wagon. Now, do you have another car, another Cortina?
No, I have my daily driver, which is a British Rover.
Okay,
It's called a Rover 75. It was designed in the 90s. It's one of the last cars that this company produced. It's a diesel.
okay.
It's comfortable. It's just it's nothing that you would drive fast. It's just a comfortable cruiser, really.
So it's when you say it's Rover, it's not part of Range Rover.
It's part of the company before Range Rover.
Oh, okay.
Rover owned Range Rover before they sold it to, I think it was Ford and then somebody else.
Yeah, because we have the Range Rover and the Land Rover.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah, Range Rover and Land Rover were part of British Leyland.
oh, Leland.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then when things went a bit south for the company, they decided to change their name to Rover. Oh, no, MG Rover. And then at some point in the 90s, late 90s, when BMW bought the brand, the Range Rover and Land Rover arms were sold. And then the
So it's
company
owned by
folded.
Ford now?
No, I think it got sold to Tata, Indian company.
Oh,
So
okay.
you might think they're British, but they're not.
Well, I see them broken down on the road all the time.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that in a 1950s Land Rover.
No, no, not in one of those.
They were
But
solid. Oh,
the
they're
modern
terrible.
ones, they're terrible. Oh,
Yeah,
I see. I'm driving. I drive around, and I'm like, well, there's another one broke down. There's another one broke down, and
yeah, they're
you
not
know,
pretty either.
they're nice and shiny, but
Oh yeah,
you know, but they're junk.
I'll find a picture of the Rover.
Now I'm
It
familiar with the old Land Rover, you know, the old boxy one. Oh, okay. So now that I would not have even associated that. I would that to me looks like a Jaguar.
Yeah, it's very similar,
Okay,
but that's powered by a BMW engine.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, so I don't think we have any cars in the states that bear the Rover name.
no, they did try back in the, I think it was the 90s, called Sterling.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a Rover 800, I think it was, just rebadged
Okay.
as Sterling, but it didn't
Now,
sell very well.
see, you say Rover, and I would not have pictured that car
Mm,
in the Rover family, and it's a diesel,
yes,
so we definitely wouldn't have seen that car here. Um,
I think it's the diesel M47 engine,
okay.
which would be in the 3 Series, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
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 I don't keep up with BMWs and Mercedes and
yeah, yeah. I can understand that. Yeah,
yeah, I
I
just
must admit, when I went to the car show that you commented on, there was a Camaro there. It's really really nice, and some El Caminos as well.
okay.
So they were cool. That was cool. I think it'd
Yeah.
been tuned because it was so loud.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
the American cars tend to be a little more boisterous,
they do. Yeah, yeah.
a little more
Well,
over the top.
yeah. I think if I wanted to, I could put in a Cologne engine in my car. That would be a 2.8. I think. Trying to think off
V6.
the top of my head. I think it's a V6.
Well, I know in the states we had a 2800. It was a 2.8, I believe it was a V6. Like in the Pintos and Mercury Capris,
Hmm.
um, I'm pretty sure it was a 2.8. So, and I have seen those where people have put them in like in MGs and stuff. They've used a little V6 engine and put them in the MG midgets and Triumphs and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, the Rover V8, which was I think was a Buick engine. That was a big solid engine.
okay.
But yeah, a guy from British Leyland went to the States, found it in a boatyard, and took it home and just modified it and put it in cars over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the story, but don't quote me.
I'm gonna look at some of these questions we have on the side. Um, okay, so Robert solved the question about the font, which I can only assume I because it looks the same to me. It looks like nothing has changed. Christopher says thanks for answering. I am looking forward to the fastback conversion. I'm hoping I can pull that off sometime. Crash Rider, great. I'm not crazy after all. Of course, this is for debate. Okay, about the fonts. Uh, Donald Rice, hi Barry from Jeanette, Pennsylvania. Glad you're here. Leonard, how's things across the pond?
Not
It's
too bad at all at the
not
moment.
too bad.
Just waiting for the weather warm up.
In fact, I'll point this out, and forgive me for not. I mean, I know where the countries are over there. You know, as far as the European kind of footprint. Uh,
Mm.
My daughter's in Spain right now.
Oh,
She
nice.
we sent her over there last night, and she's going to be there for 2 months. So,
Oh, that'd be quite
um,
warm for her.
what's that?
It should be quite warm for her.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's she's over there doing some volunteer teaching assignment, teaching English to apparently Spanish people.
Oh,
So
nice.
so we'll see how that goes. Let's see, Nandu. Hi Barry and everyone. Hope you're doing good. I think we are. I think we're okay. Dave Conville. Good evening, all. There's a Dave Bell. First Dave. I think that's first Dave tonight. Jerry says he zip tied the tack in his '66 Mustang. Worked well. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. Shane, we basically stole the English language from England, and they still have to explain the words to us.
I'm not going to
Well,
explain any swear words, don't worry.
oh, well, I
No.
know we've made our own butchering of the language, so a lot of it is our own blame. Troy, the base language is the same, but the lingo is different. Yes. Rick Gain, all the manual adjustments in the Model A are now done with Bluetooth from one's phone. Yeah. Well, there's your tack. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the States, the one that you would normally get would be a Sun Pro. I think a Sun Pro is one that would make
Um,
everybody's. I don't know what brand that one is.
this is Ron.
Oh yeah, nothing we would see here in the States with detachable panel. Okay, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I guess International Harvester Guy. Good evening. I have a 1985 Mercury Capri 5.0 all original, 50,000 kilometers on it. Second owner, factory AC, cruise, power windows, RS model, all original 5-speed. Well, that's a pretty cool car in my opinion. You don't see the Capris hardly ever anymore in the States, in particular. Yeah, that was the sister, let's say, to the Mustang. In fact, I had a Capri. Let's see, what year was it? It was an 83 or 84 model that I drove for a period of time. But yeah, 5.0. So when you say 50,000 kilometers, where's it at? Because I would assume that's not here in the States. I'm going to assume, because normally we wouldn't see kilometers. But yeah, that would be a pretty cool car. David Outdoors. Hello, Barry. Glad you're here. Rick Gain saying to Dave, you're about 40 miles from me. I'm exit. Okay. I must have missed something there. Ray Buckman. Afternoon. I touched late, but here nonetheless. Glad you're here, Ray. David Outdoors. I've been driving the Firebird Formula all over. Very excited. Motor is running great. Awesome. That's good to hear. I know you were having some issues with it before. Rick Game, my nephew is a mechanic working for Land Rover. He says they are junk now. Makes him money, so he is happy. Yep. I get that. Robert, Rover bought the rights to the Buick engine from GM to put it in their cars and kept making them for decades.
They did.
Interesting.
They put them in
Thank you.
rally cars, all sorts.
Thank you, Robert. Leonard says, does Ford still make the Capri over there? So there's a question for you, Simone.
No, they don't. That ceased in 1987.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They
I
tried to bring
remember.
it back using the Ford Probe, but it didn't work. But this is a Mark I Ford Capri.
Yes. We
And
had.
this is the British version, or the answer to the... Oh, it could have been the Mustang, actually.
Well, that generation was probably similar to the Mustang 2,
Yeah.
which would have been the sister to the Pinto.
This was 1960s.
So that was in the 60s. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was probably no real, I mean, you might say a Falcon, but that would be as close as you could get, I think. Because that car, my dad had two of those up at the junkyard.
Wow.
And I thought that body design ran up into the 70s.
This
Early
one did run
70s.
this did run into the 70s, yes.
Okay, now that one we didn't have. But the other one you showed, the red one,
Yeah.
I don't know what
That's-
year what the bracket was for that.
This MReg 1973. So that'd be the facelift with the rectangular headlights.
Okay.
The pre-facelift, that is, it's on the same year, so it would have changed over on the same year.
Okay, so that body ran up to 72 then? The red
Uh,
one?
I'll just check because the Mark II was much more bland.
Oh,
For
okay.
some reason, they dialed it down.
Because I think it's Ron. I don't want to get his name wrong. I think he's an artist over there. He frequently draws those cars. Oh, wow, that is different. Yeah, we never
Yeah,
had that version. We
yeah,
never
they
had that
dialed,
version.
and they did a Mark III, which is really aggressive. And I do like the design of the Mark III.
I think it's Ron Acart. Ron Acart, I think, is the artist. He had sent me some drawings of the Capris like that. The first one you showed. Okay, so that's similar. The back half, yeah. But I know the first one you showed, we had two of those up at my dad's junkyard.
Wow.
So they're long gone.
I have seen some YouTube videos where some guys have like pulled them up a Capri out of a what's the wording? Shed, barn.
Okay, a barn, yeah, a barn find.
And it was quite interesting to see them get it going.
Yeah. Well, we had some of those. We had some Austin Americas.
Hmm.
We had some of those. Those were early '70s or late '60s as well, I think.
Yes.
And then one other car that we had, which to me was the strangest one, was a Goliath.
Oh,
Did you ever hear of a Goliath?
Goliath. It rings a very distinct bell.
I think I'm pretty confident that it was a British car, and the one we had was a two-door hardtop. It was like similar to, let's say, like a Triumph Spitfire size, but it was a hardtop, and I don't remember much about the car other than it had such a strange name.
Yeah.
And somebody tried to work on it, and I remember opening up the hood,
Oh,
and all the pieces were laying underneath the hood like it was just all over the place, and there was no way we were going to get that car back together.
Goliath 1100.
That could be.
Let's
You
bring
might
up a
have you have a
photo.
picture of it? Is that what
I
you're looking
do.
at? Because I haven't seen one since, and I'm sure that one went. Actually, I don't know if that's the right version or not. I
Okay.
don't know how many versions they made of those,
I'd not heard of it before.
but the one we had was kind of more sporty looking, if I remember correctly.
There's that one.
That might be it.
Okay.
That might be
I,
it. I don't remember
I'd never
exactly.
heard of it before.
I was pretty young whenever we had that car.
No,
Let's
I'd not
see.
heard of that one.
Okay, I'm not going to read Aaron's comment. I don't know how that works out. Just don't mention rhyming slang. I'm not going to.
Oh, Cockney rhyming slang.
I
Yes,
don't know.
it's quite interesting.
Okay, we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
Dave Convo, I thought the universal tack mount was aircraft clamp. Oh, aircraft clamp around the column, or are you talking about like a radiator hose clamp? That was actually the
Oh,
default connection instead of the zip tie. So yeah, good point. Let's see, Ben Oldsmobile 80 F85 Cutlass 64 had a 213 V8 aluminum that was from Rovers. Interesting. I remember that aluminum engine. It wasn't very good.
would you recognize this at all? I don't know if you've ever seen one of those.
Um, that looks similar to a Rambler, American Rambler, but I couldn't
Okay.
tell you the name of that.
This is the console Capri. It came up before the actual Ford Capri.
Oh wow,
Um,
interesting.
I'm not sure what it was based on.
It looks a lot like a Rambler.
Yeah, yeah. And there's even a convertible version, which is really it's cute.
Oh, that's actually better looking than the hardtop.
Yeah, I love in the
And,
white walls.
yeah, that's cool. And it has a little bit of a Studebaker touch on the front end,
Yeah,
just a little.
it's
You
got
know,
a
it's always
touch.
interesting when
Yeah,
you
it's got a touch
see
of Americana.
these crossover type of things like that.
Mm,
You know, where there's something. Obviously, we have designers, in different, countries, but some of that I'm sure plays into, what's popular. Well, let's go with this dual headlights or
mm.
the little bit of a fin or something like that that
Oh, I love
accents it. So
fins. I love fins on cars.
yeah, they're. I mean, that's obviously 50s and 60s, all that era. So Phil Clifford says, in between priming. Hello all, glad you're here, Phil. Troy, my first car was a 72 Capri. Looks a lot like what Simone showed. So I'm guessing the red one. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Rick Gain, I saw Wheeler Dealers do a Capri a while back. Nice car. Yep.
yeah, they are good.
David Outdoors says, Mom, says, man, wait a minute, what?
Alfa Romeo.
I guess, yeah, I guess mom and dad own a Alfa Romeo, not a Remo,
Mm.
Alfa Romeo, yeah. Ray Buckman, late 70s Mercury Capri. I thought they would be fantastic with the V8.
Mm.
Yeah. Leonard, is Ford building the Mustangs there? So do you have any, or do they
Um,
import Mustangs
I
themselves? Or is there,
think I think they're imported.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there was a time when I forget what they called it, the Mustang that was in Europe had a different name in the 60s. Um,
Uh,
and it's at the
it,
tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it at the moment. Um,
it's only recently been a mainstream vehicle here.
there was, uh, I can't think of the name. There was a name they had on them. Maybe it was the Mustang, but it had a like I want to say Fair Lady, but I don't think it was a Fair Lady. That was Datsun
Mm.
in their Z28 or not 280Z 240. They had the Fair Lady, but it was something I thought it was similar to that. Somebody will tell us here in a second. Because they did have a different name they put on them with the Mustang. David Outdoors. I owned the 1980s Mustang 4-cylinder 4-speed like the Capri, I believe. Yeah, yeah. Troy, the 76, 78 models looked like the last picture she showed. Ours still had the twin round headlights. Okay.
Yeah, I liked the Mark III with the slightly hooded headlights.
Rudderify. I had a Capri when I was stationed in the UK. Had fun with that little thing. With the little
Yeah,
thing.
well, they're rear-wheel drive. They will slide quite nicely.
That's the nice thing about it. You think about you forget that a lot of the cars up into the 70s were rear-wheel drive.
Mm.
So in our case, in the States, even the stuff we received from Japan, like the Datsun or the Toyota, they were rear-wheel drive. And I remember reading an article. It was in a magazine from, I think, 1977, and it talked about a Datsun. And I want to say the default, my mind says B210, but I
Okay.
don't know if that's accurate. But they were commenting that that car was getting 56 miles to the gallon in 1977.
Wow.
But to put it in perspective, they probably did that under ideal conditions, and those cars didn't have any accessories. They didn't have power seats or power windows or power mirrors or air conditioning. It was a basic car.
Mm.
So when you're not carrying around extra weight, you can get good mileage. Just the
Yeah,
way
you
it
can.
is. So anyway, that was uh, the fun part about those cars being rear wheel drive, like you're saying, slide them around. Dave says, didn't Goliath make a lot of the three-wheel delivery vehicles in UK, maybe in the 60s or 70s? I don't think that was the company. The three-wheeled vehicle, I don't know what it's called. You know what those are called. They were like little caravans. Had the
Reliant.
Reliant. They had the front
Yeah.
wheel, and they would tip over if you got too close to them.
That's a bit of a myth, to be honest with you.
Well, I know we've seen
Top Gear.
what's it, Top Gear, where they
Yeah,
took one out and they wrecked it, and they
that
kept
was
wrecking it.
staged. That was
Yeah,
staged.
yeah. You would think that if it was that serious, they would not have produced them.
Oh God, no.
So um, okay. So
Plastic fantastic. That's true, Dave.
what's that?
Dave put a comment. Plastic fantastic. Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
okay. Robert says Goliath was German, made three-wheeled cars before the Reliant three-wheeled plastic fantastic car. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
and there was also a company called Bond.
Bond,
Hmm. Yeah,
Bond.
yes, three-wheel
Yeah,
cars, the same layout as the Reliant vehicles,
interesting.
but very, very, very small.
Okay. Well, if you find me a peel, I
Oh,
would like you
Peel
to get me a
P50.
peel and send it to me.
I'd love a Peel P50.
So if you find me one, just send it over here. I'll pay shipping.
They're not cheap.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Leonard says a T37. So I don't know what that is. Oh, Mustang was the T5. So there we go. They had a T5 nomenclature on it, on the Mustangs. And then Troy says the Mustang in Europe was called the T5. So that's what we're talking about. The cars in the 60s had that T5 name on them. So thank you guys. Doyle, I had a 73 Fiat Spider that I started a restoration. It was designed by Pininfarina. Parts were too hard and expensive, so I traded it off. I don't blame you there. I don't blame you there. Dave Conville, Plastic Fantastic. Thanks, Infernal. That's what I was thinking. Okay. Let's see. Chris C. Is there drawbacks to deleting the drip rails on a 70 Mustang? Depends. I'm going to say there's probably no major drawbacks, but the idea is you keep water out of the vehicle. So if you're not driving it in rain, I wouldn't worry about it. If you are, then you can get water that can seep around the A pillars. It can drop around the roof rails. So just consider that if you're really thinking about it. GT 500 or 5000. Wait, GT 5000 2x4. T5 in Germany, but not in all of Europe. Okay, so that helps. Give you a bell for that. Leonard, there was a guy that was building a bicycle, but he sued Ford over the name of the Mustang, and I read that Ford tagged it, I think, T37, not sure. Okay. I'm not sure on that one. Robert, if you find a peel, I'll fly over and bring it back as checked luggage. Yes. If anybody's not familiar with a peel is like this big.
It's tiny.
It is tiny. We had a place over here that had a microcar museum, and I was in Georgia, and I never got a chance to get to it.
Oh, wow.
But boy, they had some amazing stuff over there. And I don't know how often. Do you ever find stuff like that? Like anywhere?
Not on the street or anything.
Okay.
I think the closest thing I've seen to that is, I don't know if you heard of a channel called Hubnut. There's a chat, Hubnut.
Hubnuts. No, I have not.
Yeah. This guy, he found a vehicle for disabled people, and it was a government funded system back in the 60s and early 70s. And all these cars were recalled for destruction. A lot of them fell through the cracks though.
Okay.
And he found one and got it fixed up and re-registered it, and he drives it on a regular basis. But you can only fit one person in it at a time. And you control it with handlebars. So you accelerate with a handlebar, but you
like
brake
a motorcycle.
but you brake by pushing down, and you steer like that on a bar.
That sounds scary. That sounds scary.
Very scary.
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine pressure pushing down to try to make the brakes activate unless you had some sort of a cantilever system or something to help.
Yeah, it's called an Invacar.
Invacar,
made by AC, who made the Cobra.
Oh.
and another
Interesting.
company which I can't think the name of right now. But the car is quite well known over YouTube. But it's worth looking at. Hubnut, definitely.
Okay. Well, there's been some creations here in the States where they've tried to create an economical vehicle like that, where it's a single occupant, and it's almost like a motorcycle, but it's a car, and
Yes.
there's so many gray areas. And the difficulty with those sort of things is the regulations on safety.
Mm.
So, if you get in a wreck, can you
Oh yeah.
survive it? All that sort of thing.
With
So,
there's not much up front. It's a front wheel. It's rear engined, and it's got a centrifugal pulley system.
like a go kart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe a snowmobile where.
Yeah. Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. Where you've got the when the engine's running, you've got the two wheels. I can't remember how I explained it, but as the wheels rotate, it pulls the belt, which then in turn pulls the drive shafts.
Correct. Yeah, that's basically like the snowmobile. It has a tapered belt
Mm,
that fits into a V of the
that's
pulley.
it.
And as it spins up, I believe they come together and it
Yeah.
pushes the belt higher. It creates more speed. So when it's slower, it's just barely catching it. So it's an
Yes.
interesting setup.
Yeah.
Interesting setup. But that's basically
And
like a kind of like a snowmobile. Okay,
you've
so
got it in final.
Leonard says, didn't they have the car in the movie When in Rome? That I don't know. Aaron, like a constant velocity transmission, I guess, or belt-driven CVT, as Robert says. Yeah, I mean, I pictured it's just a snowmobile type of drive system, which it makes sense. It makes sense. So, oh wow,
Yeah, it's very small.
interesting. Now, see, I would want to put more wheels on that.
Yeah, same. What are you doing? My cat is on my record player.
Oh, Robert says used on go-karts here too. Yep, that is true. That is true. Well, I don't know what time it is over there. I don't want to keep you past this. If you got
Uh,
things, I don't know what your schedule is.
Almost 1 a.m.
Okay, I don't want to keep you up. I'm sure you have to get to bed. So
I have an appointment at 11 a.m. tomorrow.
okay,
So yeah, I will. I think I will scoot and get some sleep.
I don't blame
But
you.
thank you for the invite.
It was fun having you. It's nice
Yeah.
to hear about different things going on in different parts of the world. And people that are doing things like you're doing. It's
Well,
it's interesting.
I yeah, I do try. I mean, learning to weld on the car, that was quite an experience. I had to learn in a matter of days how to weld panels. And yeah, it was messy at first, but after a while, it was like I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Once you
I
get
miss,
the hang of it, you can do pretty well with it.
yeah, but I miss it at the moment. I really do. I can't do anything right now, but
Okay,
I will. I will.
okay. Well,
But
if you haven't everybody else, let you know. Hooked on Classics is Simone's channel, so you can check her out and see what she's up to.
yeah, if you're interested in cortina, if you look for the Adventures of TC, it's easier to find it that way.
Okay.
But
All
anyway,
right.
thank you for having me, and you guys enjoy your evening.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Bye. All right. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Get a little, some different perspectives on things. Talk about different cars. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Can't ask for more. GT 500 2x4. As far as I know, the Mustang was only called T5 in Germany because someone else had the copyrights for the name at the time. Okay. I'll take your word for it. Thank you for that. And Shane, the BMW I said a bubble car, single occupant car. The Isetta? I thought that was a two people car. You talking about the one with the door to open on the front? Is that we talking about the same car? Had that swing out windshield and all that stuff. I thought it was a 2-people car, if that's what we're talking about. But yeah, another interesting vehicle. Leonard says, take care. Yes. Again, thank you, Simone, for being here. Okay. So, other things going on. You already know that the Camaro, where I'm at with it, as far as the last video. And today I've been working on trying to finish up all the welding on the wheelhouse. I talked about in the video how I sectioned it in, made it fit, shortened it up to make it, match the shape more correctly. And I did not do all the welding because I wanted to get the video out, so I just kind of let it sit. But today I was working on that, and it was, I've got everything pretty much welded together. I'm still not going to weld it to the inner wheelhouse at the front where it meets the rocker panel. I just don't want to have a conflict there. If I need to take something loose, I don't want to have the wheelhouse fighting me and being in the way. So it just makes it easier. Also, I think I'm okay with the rocker panel. There's some things I'm going to have to deal with on that. And I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but obviously with this side of the car, when I put in that whole side, I had to narrow the rocker panel. I had to cut a strip of it out. And more than likely, I'm going to have to do that on the other side as well. So it'll be a little bit of a challenge because I don't have like the whole side of the car to use as a reference point. Because like this is an assembly, and I pointed out when I was trying to bring the rocker panels together that it was pushed apart, and I could identify where that piece was. So on the passenger side, since the rocker panel is independent, it might just be a little more of a challenge. And also, where the rocker panel meets under the front A-pillar, I'm really thinking I'm going to leave that alone. I don't want to take all that apart and really abuse what's there just to save that much metal or replace that much metal. It just doesn't make sense in my mind. Sometimes you have to take the high road on some of these things because you create more problems if you try to do it the other way. So we'll get into that whenever I'm, getting more into that video. But that'll be coming later on. Doyle, have you tried the SET yet? Was not impressed. I tried it on my driver's fender. The 60-degree disc didn't remove the old layers of paint as fast as I thought it should. I have not tried it yet. So I haven't even opened the box. Just haven't. I will probably, I plan to strip down these panels when it comes time. Everything's going to end up in epoxy on this car, but I don't. At this point, I haven't opened the box. There's a few things that I need to take care of. Basically, this area right here, where the mount for the rear, the deck lid is. On the other side in particular at this point, because I'm probably going to be finishing up that side before I come back to this side to put all this in. But there's just kind of some surface rust. And I want to clean it up. So I don't know if I'm going to use I have a pressure pot sandblaster that I need to get some more media for. And I don't know if I'm going to use that or what exactly. I can't get into that because it's like a little narrow bracket and you can't get into it with like the SCT. It's just not going to happen. So I have to try to see what I can do to get that area cleaned up. Because I want to have all that done before I put the rocker panel on. The quarter panel on. Leonard saying, Robert, did you see the video post of a guy that went over to Japan looking for Mustangs and found 2 in a junkyard, a 429 Ram Air and a Boss 351. That's interesting. I didn't see that. Bet Harry, hi all from the Great White North. Yes, it is snowing here. I need to move south. Come on down. It's currently about 60 degrees here in Georgia, and fantastic. Um, but summer's coming. Summer's coming. Not much you can do about it. So Robert's talking to Leonard. They won't fit in my checked luggage, so they won't let me in Japan either. Yeah. The other thing that let's see, I've got to get that rocker panel straightened out. The quarter panel looks like it's going to fit good on this car, and I'll be test fitting, all these different things, and then part of this week we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping I can at least get started. I know I'll at least get started on the rocker panel. I don't know that I'll complete it. I'm going to try to take my time and get that all apart, and I don't want to rush it, trying to piece it back in. I would rather take my time making a video and maybe make it into 2 videos, which is fine, than to try to say I got to get all this done right now, and I'm not taking as much time or being as careful as I should be. So just know that. Being that this side is a little tougher, or that side, the passenger side, will be tougher with that rocker, I'm going to slow down and really think about it. So, Rick Stevenson, 75 here in Jacksonville. That's pretty nice. Ray Buckman, 60s today in Colorado, 70s for the rest of the week. That's pretty nice too. Shane, how difficult will it be to align the roof on the Camaro when you get to that point? Seems like everything else will need to be near perfect. Well, I've already done the test fit on, this side of the roof, and I had the cross bracing in place. It seemed to line up really well. The nice part is, because this is a big model kit, when it comes down to it, it's a big model kit. The pieces that I have all kind of interlock or interact with each other. So like the piece of metal that goes across the back section here, you can kind of put it in place and feel where it fits, if you know what I'm saying. The front section, again, it fits in, and it like helps create the curve for the windshield. So to me, when I get those pieces where I think they belong, and again, I may tack weld them in just to hold them, but I will put the roof on and tweak things around and see what lines up and what doesn't. But again, everything kind of is going to interact with each other. Honestly, once I get that side done, this side's going to move pretty quick, in my opinion. The rocker panel is probably going to be the toughest thing to take care of on that side. Once I get the rocker in and the area cleaned up that I talked about with the surface rust and whatnot, I'm really close to just setting a quarter in. Really close. But it'll all be sequence is scored. I've said that many times. I can't rush through the process. Have to take my time. Doyle, Robert, have you tried a flap disc on the SCT? So there's a question for Robert. Ray Buckman, take your time. I like the videos. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna. I can't rush things, but it's coming along pretty nice. Robert, Wednesday should be primer day here. That'll be cool. That'll be nice. I know you've been stripping that thing down. If you haven't seen, these are some shots that Robert shared with me last week, where he stripped down his car on his rotisserie, getting it ready for epoxy. And that's a real I don't know if I want to say landmark or a nice visual check mark. So when you're putting things together, you're test fitting panels, you're doing all that sort of thing, and you do get to the point where you can put primer on, that's like a magic moment, in my opinion. You can finally see what the car looks like all together, and it's all one color, and it's just really, really a magic moment in my opinion. Leonard is talking about the guy in Japan. He also found a 77 Pontiac Trans Am. Well, that would be cool too. I don't know how hard it is to get those cars out of there. Ray, haven't seen a video from Robert lately, but watched Dawn's today. Okay. Well, I'm sure Robert's working on something. I'm sure he is. Robert says, Doyle, I've used it some. It doesn't like lacquer paint, but it's not really a paint removal wheel. In my opinion, the best wheel for heavy paint removal would be the plastic wire brush type. Okay. Thank you, Robert. Professionals in progress. How long have you been building cars? That's a tough question. My background, if you don't already know, is I grew up my dad had a junkyard. So I've been around cars since I was born. And I can't say we did a lot of rebuilding of cars in the 70s and 80s. My dad did. I know he would put, a fender on and replace a door and, do some body work. And he did some paint stuff too. But he kind of didn't do that much when I was a kid. He did that like more in the 60s. And I can't say I did a lot of disassembly. And I did some rebuilds of my own. Like I took a 70, my first car that I rebuilt was a 70 Mustang coupe, 6-cylinder, 3-speed manual car that was wrecked. And I did that when I was 16, maybe 17. The car the whole front end was smashed, and I rebuilt it to the best of my ability back at that time. So really, that was my first rebuild. And then from there, I worked on a variety of cars, repairing stuff and mechanical wise. That's really my background as a mechanic first, I think. And then whenever I was in the Army and I got out of the Army and I was going to school for aircraft maintenance, I did rebuild my first technical rebuild of a car I would have been 21, I think, and it was a 83 Dodge Colt. I don't know. I have to find those pictures. If I could find those pictures one day. But that 83 Dodge Colt was hit in the back end and smashed, and I cut the back third of the car off and found another section of that same model and put it back together. And as Leonard commented, he says, "I can't get over you welded the body with stick welding." Yeah, I did. I put that car back together with a stick welder. And people said you can't do that. And I was like, oh, I did. I wouldn't recommend it. Now I know better. But I put the car together with a stick welder. And I drove it. I put probably 20, 30,000 miles on that car, and then I ended up selling it. And I can't remember if I had that car. I think I had that car, and then I also, me and my brother kind of rebuilt like an 83 Mercury Capri that I also drove to school. And then I ended up selling that car as well. From there, I was doing stuff here in my garage when I moved here in 96. I moved here in 91 and then started rebuilding stuff like in my home garage, and then eventually started building stuff in here after I built this shop in 96. And from there, I had a buddy, we had the body shop together later on. But what I would do, he would bring me a car that needed body work to it, and I would do the body work and get it straightened out, and then take it back to his house, and he would paint it and put it back together, and then we'd split the money or whatever. So I've had my hands in cars for a long, long time. I think that's Gary, right? Gary says, hello, coffee drinkers. Pretty sure that's Gary. Professionals, that's badass. I dig it. Bodywork with a stick welder? Yeah. Yep, I did when I was 20. I didn't, because I grew up stick welding. That's all I knew. My dad had a big 220 Lincoln, the tombstone welders. So everything we did was with that, and that's how I learned to weld was with a stick welder. And so you know, I didn't know what a MIG was. And I guess if you really go back in time, I don't know when the MIGs became popular. I don't really know. But if you go back in time, they used to use, gas welding, basically like brazing stuff together, prior to that, back in a long time ago. And just making things work. But it worked. It stayed together. Larry, I'm going to assume all those cars in Japan don't have paperwork anymore. They don't track by VIN, and if you don't have the old paperwork, then they are just paperweights. That's sad. That's sad. Thank you, Larry. Doyle, my first restoration was a 57 Chevy two-door hardtop. Those were the days. 1977 purchase for $150 with a 3-speed manual transmission included. Yep. Yep. Jake Sherman, I drove my car to school for the first time today, and I got told by a group of kids my car was a piece of, but sure, a 2000 GTO isn't. Okay. Yeah, 2004 GTO, that's not a bad car. It's not a bad car. Not a bad car. But they don't know any better. Jerry, my 66 Mustang had a ton of brass welds. Well, the Mustang actually had the brass welds were temporary. So my understanding is when they were coming down the assembly line, people would fit the panels together and use brass to hold the panel in place. And when it got further down the line, they would use the spot welders to put it all back in. That's why you would find like different places you will find that brass up around the. I've seen it in all kinds of different places. But yeah, they to me it was a temporarily permanent attachment. They'd get everything lined up, and then spot welders come in later and fix it up. Jake, yeah, I told my dad, and he said a younger generation won't understand a car like that. Yeah, that is true. They know what Hondas are. They know what all the. Hold on a second. Oh, so I had some pictures sent to me. Interesting. We were talking about earlier about the banners, how it was different. So Troy and Robert have sent me pictures, screen captures, of what they're seeing on the screen, and that is not what I'm seeing on the screen. So if I go back up here and say, I think it's Gary, right? That is not what I'm seeing, or what you're seeing is not what I'm seeing, because that takes up that much of my screen. Literally that much of my screen. So based on the pictures they sent, it must be much bigger. So hey, if StreamYard improved it, that's fine with me. Shane, I carefully brazed a quarter panel on my 1974 Mazda RX-4 back in the 80s. Tried to keep the heat around 800 degrees to prevent metal warping. Turned out okay. Yeah. Good job. Jerry, my car was wrecked and there was brass used to weld the panels. Oh, okay. I always thought you were talking about like the temporary stuff at the joints. So, wow. Okay. Leonard, they had a heel arc welder in the high school body shop. Okay. Cool. Car guy, I didn't know about the brass brazing on a Mustang. Usually seat on the edges of the cowl panel and sail panel area makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was, from my understanding, it was just meant to be a temporary, just hold it in place. Because otherwise, if you're doing a spot welding, depending on how panels are put in with spot weld, I would say you can walk a panel. Let's picture like the cowl. If you start on one end and you start coming across, you could, in effect, apply heat and pressure, and that cowl could shift. Right? because it may just start to move on you. Just like when you weld, you can put heat on something and the metal changes shape. Um, but if you were to, position it with the brass, hold it in place, then it really doesn't. It's not gonna move. So that's how I look at it, and that's my understanding of it. David Gless. Hi everyone. I live a couple hours away from where all these awesome cars were designed and built in Michigan. I thought I was the only one who would rebuild a basket case car. Nope. You're not the only one. You're not the only one. There's not much, honestly, that intimidates me with a car. Yeah, I've said it before. Sheet metal is sheet metal. Now, if this car had been like plowed into a tree, like head on or something, and really collapsed structure and twisted things, that would be a different story. The damage to this car was done in such a way that it could be saved, and so that's there is a limit somewhere in there. I joked around with the Brooklyn Pony. I needed just a good set of door hinges and I could start building a car. But yeah, there are some that you just really can't do anything with. In fact, I'll have to tell you that I saw there was a comment. Yeah, Robert says there are a lot of us out there. Yeah. There was a comment posted on, I don't know if it was number 6 video. I don't remember. It was number 6 or number 7. And the guy commented, and he was like, you can't be serious. Why would anybody, is this like some elaborate hoax? Why would anybody take on a project like this? Blah, blah, blah. He was like really negative about the whole thing and implying that it's not worth it to put this car back together. Well, the thing is, it doesn't have to be worth it to certain people to do the job. For me, I really, really love doing this kind of thing. Doing the sheet metal, cutting things off, straightening out this or fixing that, putting it back together. That's like therapy for me. So some people look at it and they go, "Oh, I can't imagine doing this. I can't imagine doing that." Well, then, that's fine. Don't. Focus on whatever your niche is. But to me, this is I would rather just be out here. Like I was grinding on that fender over there for, I don't know, half an hour or hour or whatever. And I'm running the sander and I'm just going. It's like I can see the progress, and maybe that's part of it too. When I'm doing stuff like that, you build up welds and you weld seams back together, and it's a visual thing. Like I can see it's coming back together. Then you start grinding down those welds, and you can see it smoothing out, and you're going, there you go. Now I can see how it's supposed to look and how it's coming together, and it's, it's a real quick, to me, it's a real quick visual of improvement. Some people don't see it that way. They just think it's a tedious task. I'm cutting this off. I'm welding it together. I'm going to grind it down. Oh, I'd rather be watching TV. We're all different. But that's why I've had, even growing up and stuff, if I had friends who had projects, or it might not even be a car, but it may be like a project of some sort, and I happened to be there, I would not hesitate to jump in there and help them out with it and try to get it moving. And they had and I know I've had some friends who commented that, I'm helping them do stuff, and they had other friends there previously, and they say, when so-and-so's here, they just stand there and watch me do this. They don't even offer to help. And I'm like, well, why? The sooner we get this thing working or done or whatever, the sooner we can do something else. And so it's just a whole different kind of mindset with some of this stuff. But yeah, give me a welder and a cut off wheel, and I'll be happy. Shane Lakeberry says, respect to the people keeping the classics alive. Yes. Somebody's got to do it. Doyle, save as many as we can from the crusher. Yep. You're right about that. Leonard, ain't that the truth? My Trino is a Ford basket case. The whole left side and the rear floor pan had to be replaced or repaired. Yeah. Yeah, and it's, there's, like I said, uh, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But there may be people that are like, I'm not, I mean, I can do this. I can do paint. I can do body work. I can do mechanical stuff. I can build engines. I can put engines and transmissions in cars. I can put the rear end in. I can, put in the glass. All these things that make up the whole composite of the car. I can do 92% of that. Transmissions, I don't mess with. I just don't want to. I mean, I don't want to. I don't even want to get involved with transmissions. But if I need to, I can build an engine. I've built several. But if I can also hand that off to somebody I trust, here, build me an engine and I'll keep doing this stuff. My wheelhouse is not like putting together the interior, putting the seats and the carpet in the car, and all the little detail stuff. I don't mind doing it so much, but that's one of the things I don't want to do. I know it's got to be done to complete the project, but it's not the high thing on my list. I'd rather get the car back together and make it solid and go from there. Gary, no TV here. Let's break out the welder and get busy. Yeah, I'm with you. 100%. 100%. 777. Hi all. Turn the tunes up and enjoy the time working with your hands. Very much so, yes. There's been many times, even when I didn't have this or a Mustang or something else, I have to be doing something. I have to have something to keep me busy. I mean, yeah, I do like to watch TV shows late in the evening, get a few laughs at something, and go to bed, whatever. But I've done so many oddball fabrication things in here, even like remodeling the garage. That's a ton of satisfaction right there. When I redid all that wall and rehung all my stuff up there, there's a lot of satisfaction to that. Some people can go, nope, I don't want to do that. I'll pay somebody. That's fine. I get it. Leonard, to me, it's relaxing and enjoyable. Yes. And it's rewarding. I get so much reward out of seeing something come back together. And, I don't have to have the car, like, do all the body work and metal on this, fine. I don't have to put an engine in it and hear it run and go, okay, I don't have to. I'm happy with what I'm doing with this as far as the metal work and all that. Crash Rider, for some of us, it is our golf. Makes more sense than hitting a ball and trying to put it in a hole, only to take it out to hit it again and put it in another hole. That's accurate. So I'm playing golf with cars. I build one, it goes out of the hole, I roll another one in the hole, start working on the next one. I get it. Shane, like Judge Smale said on Caddyshack, the world needs ditch diggers too. So rebuilding classics is for us to do, everyone else can dig a ditch. Okay. I'm with you. David, I have found lots of satisfaction bringing cars and houses back from the dead. Thanks for the videos. Yes, thank you, David. Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm going to point this out, and I don't know if I want to. Maybe I'll pull up the pictures. As I've said, it's not for everybody, and people. I appreciate people trying and doing things and getting involved. Experience can really only come from putting your hands into it and getting into it. But let me see if I can pull this up. But there's times where inexperience will come back and haunt you. And I'm gonna pull up some pictures and show you in just a second. Um, I was looking on Facebook Marketplace because you're always looking. I'm always looking, and I'm trying to find stuff that may be worth getting into. I've found several Mustangs that interest me, but the I saw this pop up, and I'm only going to probably pull up two of these pictures because I don't need to pull up the rest. These two pictures will tell you everything. Somebody had posted a 70 Mach 1, let's say, conversion. And I saw this pop up, and I went, this is not how you do a conversion. Let me show you this. Okay. If you're familiar with these cars, this is, and I'm not a fan of doing it this way at all. Some people will do this. They'll cut through the windshield frame. I'm not happy with that. To me, there's a lot of risk with that. Now, if you were to sleeve it, put in internal structure to strengthen this thing, maybe. But for me, I just couldn't do that. I just couldn't. But if you look at this, this was a 70 coupe that they put a fastback roof structure on. As soon as I saw this, I was like, put down the welder and step away from the car. They don't know, and they maybe don't realize that the windshield frame, the angle is different on a 69 and 70 coupe and a 69 and 70 fastback. And so they butchered up two cars to make this thing. And the whole rest of the car just looks terrible. But see, some people just don't. Or if you have a question, ask somebody. Learn from other people when you're doing this stuff. Learn. Let's see. Leonard, watching you build these and the finished product like okay. Sorry, Leonard. I guess we lost part of the conversation. Not only is that wrong, it's crooked. Yeah, and that's just it. And that's just people. I understand where they're coming from. They're thinking I'm going to make myself a fastback, and I'm going to cut corners to make it happen. And they literally, you couldn't even put a windshield in that car. So they've ruined two cars to try to make a fastback out of this coupe. And that's just, Steve's money pit. My wife gets mad because I'm always looking. Yeah, I don't usually have that problem, but I'm always looking. Car guy Troy. When my wife first bought me a welder for Christmas years ago, I thought, what am I going to do with that? Had zero use for it at the time. Found out I flat love welding. Totally favorite part of the project. Yep. Michael, I find it to be therapeutic after a crappy day at work. Better than taking it out on my wife and kids. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Doyle, Frankenstein. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh, so Leonard, talking about the 55. So you start off saying watching you build these and the finished product like the 55 Chevy Pickup that you did. Yes. Thank you. I get it now, Leonard. Thank you. I'm hearing sirens. Shane, I got to go get gas in my truck. I will thank Brandon in November for the cost. Bye, all. Yeah. Thank you. Good point. November's coming. All right. So like I said, sometimes an idea should not be put into play. Just sometimes. I just couldn't do that. What else? There was something else I was going to mention. trying to remember what that was. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm probably going to call it. I'm going to call it a night a little bit early tonight. I am hungry. I haven't had supper yet, and I need to go get something to eat. So let's see, 777. After people do that, it makes the car value drop to nothing. Yeah, yeah. Now I've said before I do plan to do the fastback conversion on the '67 coupe that I have. I do, but I'm not going to do it like that. It's not going to be hacked together. I refuse to do that. Thomas, hi Barry. Tom from San Diego, California. The floor pan on a '70 Mustang coupe. Should I cut more of the transmission tunnel or cut off from the replacement panel piece? Well, what I normally do on that, I set the floor pan in place, and I will trace a line around the floor pan. Then I will cut and leave about an inch of material below that line. Okay. Then you can set the floor pan back in place, make sure it's lined up. And you can do this a couple different ways. Some people want to do a butt weld. And if you're going to do that, make sure the thing is pressed all the way down. Cut both panels at the same time. Cut your floor pan, your original, and your new panel at the same time so that those line up. I'm not a fan of doing that. I don't like it. I would rather cut the original panel down, fit the other one on top, and leave, I would like a 1/4 inch overlap, roughly. And then I would weld that on the top, and I may even weld it at the bottom or grind down that and blend it in. So there's a couple different ways you can look at it. I have videos on that on the, I think I covered some of that in the Mystique Mustang. So, okay. But anyway, good question, Tom. I hope that helps you with this. Ray Buckman, good night, Barry, and all. Have a great week. Robert, night all. Leonard, thumbs up. Yes. Ron, thanks, Barry. Have a good evening. 777, good night, all. Okay. Car Guy Troy, thanks and good night. Have a wonderful week, everyone. And Steve, check your phone messages. I sent you dinner. Okay. All right. So, again, probably not going to be able to do this on Thursday. Schedule conflicts. It is what it is. But I'm happy everybody was here. I enjoy doing this, and I'll be back on Monday night at 7 once again. So hope you have a good week. I'll get another video out Saturday more than likely. I have some other things that I need to get tied up in, but more on that later. Again, thanks for being here, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.